Hello YouTubers who have found this video. Thank you for finding it, and before I get started, don't forget to do that good YouTube stuff that you do for all your favorite videos. In this episode of Pokemon Generation Battle, I look at what region is the best. Obviously, this is my opinion, so feel free to disagree and leave a comment saying which region is your favorite. Anyway, let's begin. For the worst region, I have Generation 3. I just can't stand the latter half of the game. I straight up hate surfing, and that's half of the map. And I know why it is. It's supposed to represent yin and yang. I mean, the symbol is in the map itself if you look. So I appreciate the idea, but I just can't stand water routes. I love water Pokemon, but hate routes where you're surfing forever. And of course, with me saying that, don't be confused, because I love most of the ground routes, but the water routes just suck. Like they don't matter. Like it's not that they don't matter. They just don't stick. They're just water routes. And before I continue, let me iterate that this week is very tough. None of the regions were like bad. It's just that the region affects the game and the replayability without a shadow of a doubt. Case in point, I chose to not do a Gen 3 Nuzlocke because of all the water routes. So it's already affecting the content that's being put up. Anyway, in the number 5 slot this week, I have Kalos. And it seems like each week, Generation 6 is towards the bottom. I just don't like how much they try to do on the map. There's a huge city that's impossible to navigate. I mean, they tried, but it's too much. A desert next to said city. A frozen town because of a gym. A frozen route you can't pass except with the help of Pokemon. There's only one route where you need surf. There's the swamp route, which I hate. And to be frank, few of these routes stand out much after the first playthrough. It's not meant as an insult, just how I feel about it. For number 4 this week, I have Unova. Most of the problems in Kalos are still present in Unova, but they're pretty easy to skip past, so it gets a pass. The desert, for example, if I'm running through the game, I can run pretty much through the desert in about maybe 15 seconds. Because you don't have to actually enter it. You can just run past. The caves, but the lack of water routes were amazing. When I first went through Generation 5, I was like, dang, I don't really even need a water Pokemon. The bridges stand out in my mind, and just the environment is very beautiful. Honestly, it's a shame it's slow, because I like the region, but I couldn't race it. The top 3 each demanded their spots. Again, tough week. Anyway, the top 3. At number 3, I have Canto, and this was a really tough spot to put it. I wanted it higher, but the region doesn't rock that much. Many of the Canto areas stand out. Cycling Road, for instance, the Safari Zone, Viridian Forest, and may I point out that there is no weather route, no snow route, no desert route. Canto doesn't have any of the crap that drags a Pokemon game down. Granted, some routes aren't that great, but there's no route that sucks. The region itself works perfectly. The way you come up through Pallet Town at the end of the game, the fact you can't go to Saffron City immediately. You have to go around and cut through every which way. The dual routes that go to Fuchsia City. It's just very well designed. Obviously, number 2 is Generation 2, or Jojo if you prefer. This is quite simply because Canto is in Jojo. So it has to be higher than it. If we ignore that, it'd still be up here on its own merits. The only cave you have, you don't even need to go through. Most of the caves skippable. One major water route, and one to get around a cave. The region is designed beautifully. I don't think there's a single route that I genuinely dislike. You could literally skip fly for Jojo, and it wouldn't hurt you that bad, only on the water route. Ice Cave? Genius. So much fun to slide around like that. I mean, name a Jojo route that is bad. I know I can. That leaves Sinnoh as the only region left. And as usual, I started from the top spot and went down. Sinnoh is just amazing. Let's start by talking about the underground. Even if you never go down there, you see a proof of it on, from my understanding, every route in the entire game. Granted, it's only half of a design, being that it gets flipped to the other side, but still. Now, what about the region itself? Mount Coronet. Perfect idea. You separate the region in half. Different forms of Pokemon show up on one side, then the other. It has just enough of the weather routes. The swamp route is skippable, thank God. The snow route isn't complex, it's just go forward. It doesn't have too much of any route, and illuming Mount Coronet is just a brilliant idea. Sinnoh had me in the palm of its hands because of the perfection its region had. That is why the region matters, because it genuinely affects how you enjoy the game. Anyway, but the way the points break down, Gen 3 gets 1 point, Gen 6 gets 2 points, Gen 5 gets 3 points, Gen 1 gets 4 points, Gen 2 gets 5, and Gen 4 gets 6 points. Thus making the new rankings Gen 4 with 16 points, Gen 1 with 11 points, Gen 2 and 5 with 10 points, Gen 3 with 9 points, and in last place, Gen 6 with 7 points. Few interesting things to note so far. Gen 6 hasn't gotten a single 1 yet, but is in last place because it never gets out of the bottom 3. After being in first place in week 1, 2-week outings by Gen 3 has it in 5th place. Gen 4 has yet to fall into 3rd place, being number 1 or 2 in the first 3 weeks. And even if next week turns out absolutely horrible for Gen 4, it still will hold first place regardless. Wow. Next week's topic will be your rival. So cast your votes for this week's video and subscribe for next week's video. And of course, the Nuzlocke.